Hi.
Welcome everybody. Hope you are all well. As usual, it's the pigsty behind me. Every week I'm like, right, next week it'll be fine. What have I got to tell you? What is there? Honestly, God, yesterday I did a live on Instagram and I was as giddy as a kipper. I don't know what was wrong with me. As soon as I came on live, I was just like, yabba yabba yabba. Started talking about sober sex. That's a whole new story. Let's just move on to the questions. Hi there. Hi everyone. I know we've got that one. Here we go. I've been booked in to be induced on the 9th due to baby measuring big. This really isn't what I wanted though, but the consultant scared the life out of me, saying that if the baby got stuck, there's just 7 minutes to get it out and may need to break her bone. Jeez, or even break my pelvis to get her out, and can unfortunately result in the baby dying. Obviously I want what's best for my baby, but I feel like they were overreacting a bit. I was only given a couple of induction, only given the option of induction or C-section. I was hoping for a water birth at the birth centre, and I know we don't always get what we want, but being induced will completely remove any chances of that relaxed birth with my partner present at the beginning. Are there any options? So, firstly, I think, well, one, I don't know the size of your baby and the size of you in relation. They are right to outline concerns, I get that, and to give you some rationale as to why they're thinking what they're thinking. But I think going into such detail is not necessary, excuse me, and not helpful. I think it's such a difficult balance, and it's such a good question to explore, because we need to think about why we're making the decisions that we're making. So you've said here that you want to have a nice relaxed birth and your partner being present and all that sort of thing from the very beginning. I think you need to think about the fact that what stops an induction being relaxed, it doesn't have to be a horrendous horror story. I think that it would be really great to know a little bit more detail in terms of what the size of the baby predicted is, what centile they're on, what sort of stature you are, because they may be looking and measuring and thinking, right, okay, we're estimating that this is a 9-pound baby, and we're looking at this mum and she's 5'2" and the dad is 6'4". You know, there's a lot of things that they may be looking at, and they may be thinking, actually, I just can't. We don't want this baby to get any bigger. So I think I would love to speak to this lady sort of individually to really drill down and think about and find out some more details. But I think the thing that you've got to think about is what's important at the end of the day. Now, you'll go on a lot of forums and, you know, chat groups, and people will put their experience and they'll say, well, they did this and they did that and they did that. But I think there's the one thing, they're not right to scare the living daylights out of you. That's wrong, and they shouldn't be putting it in such terminology. I have seen babies get stuck. I've never seen a woman's pelvis have to be broken. I have seen that baby's arm has had to be broken to get the baby out. But I've not seen, you know, this has been painted in an extremely dramatic way for you, and I don't think that's fair, because for every 50 babies that you might see get stuck, 0.1 might end up with a broken arm. So it's, I mean, that is a statistic that I'm throwing out there. It's not probably a correct number, but it's, you know, the risks of all these things go down the more, you know, with each incident. So what I'm trying to say is, a baby getting stuck by the shoulders, it does happen, but it is quite rare. A baby getting stuck by the shoulders and having their arm broken is rarer still. Even so, you don't want to push that boundary. And I think having a baby's shoulders get stuck is not a nice experience. And if your baby's shoulders did get stuck, you certainly wouldn't have the relaxed environment that you're wanting in your water birth. And equally, I think if you have got a very large baby on board, you don't want the baby's shoulders to be stuck in the water. But I think that what I think for you is that you need a better conversation with somebody that's going to talk it through with you in a bit more of a measured way, rather than you feeling backed into a corner to have something done that you don't necessarily want to have done. What I would say is that there are certain ways. What I would advise is you do complex labour class 2, where we talk about induction in depth, what it's like, what you can expect, so that you're fully prepared to have an induction. And I think also what's worth thinking about is, let's say you say I don't want induction and I'm going to go for a natural birth, and you get to 41 weeks. What are you thinking you're going to do then? And then if you get to 42 weeks, what are you going to do then? Because with each of these passing days, your baby is going to be bigger. So I feel like I'm not coming out with any particularly straight answer for you, because I think this is I think often with all of these things, you need to really be able to sit down with some time to talk it through. So if you are watching this, I'm not sure whether the lady who's asked the question is watching it, please do give me a call. Quite happy to take a phone call on this one from you, and we'll try and talk it through a little bit and try and give you a little bit more of a thought process so that you feel you're making the right decision rather than being backed into a corner. I hope that's helpful. It's not an easy topic. But yeah, it sounds like your consultant was really laying it on thick, which is not very nice. Right, okay, let's move on. I am about 4 weeks pregnant with my second baby and I'm really overweight, BMI of about 43. I was dieting before falling pregnant and I wasn't this big when pregnant with my first baby. The joys of lockdown, I know, tell me about it, lovely. I'm really worried how this will affect pregnancy. Okay, so the first thing I would say is stop worrying, because worrying isn't going to change your situation, is one thing I would say. And I'm not a massive fan of people going on like mass diets and stuff in pregnancy, but I do know that Slimming World is supported in terms of it allows you to eat good volume and healthily and cuts out some fat. Now, I'm sure there's people on here that go, well, you know, it's not about that, ketos and all that sort of stuff. But I think in terms of giving you food that will give you energy, but ensuring that if not necessarily that you don't lose weight, but that you don't gain huge amounts of weight, may be something to go on. I think being really nice to yourself and don't beat yourself up, because we've all been in lockdown. I'm like this, honestly, and that's why my camera's up here, because honestly I am like Wayonetta slob, I feel like, because I don't do anything. So I think we're all a little bit in the same boat, apart from those skinny mins. So just be kind to yourself. Try your best not to really eat for two. But I would have a look at the Slimming World recipes because they really do reduce your fat. That would be my advice. Do some walking. I'm 11 weeks pregnant with hyperemesis gravidarum. I've lost 24 pounds in weight now. God bless you, in 11 weeks. And I'm struggling to keep fluids down. Anything I eat, I throw up within 2 hours. It's really getting me down now, as I can't do anything and I feel so awful. I feel like I can't carry on. Since I've been, the doctors put me on Stemitil, but I can't keep them down. Right, okay, you need to go back to your doctor and you need to say that's not working. I need a different antiemetic, because this is really significant. It's not normal. People, you know, anybody says, oh, well, you're pregnant. It's not normal. You know, getting up in the morning when you're pregnant and being sick, normal. Being sick at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, normal. Being sick every 10 minutes in between those two times is not normal. You know, most people, if they do have morning sickness, it's like once a day, twice a day. When you're getting to this point of throwing up multiple times a day, that's not normal, my lovely. And it is no wonder that you are feeling the way you are feeling. So, and don't beat yourself up for that, because we often get women who want to terminate the pregnancy despite desperately wanting the baby. They just think, I can't carry on. So honestly, go back to the doctors and tell them you are really struggling, you're feeling like you can't carry on. What can they do, and get them to change that medication, because they're not going to get rid of it completely, but they may be able to make things a bit better for you. And please do come back and tell us how you're getting on. Hello, afternoon. I'm expecting my second child, seeing midwife next Friday regarding my options, as first child was breech baby and had no choice through her C-section. My concern is I'm stuck between two options and I don't know what to do. I heard risk to both options, whether it's VBAC or C-section, but I'm thinking I have a toddler at home, so I don't want to struggle either way. Could you please advise me on the stuff I should look into? As my head is turning towards C-section, but just because I know the roads through it, and I'm also measuring big and have a glucose test on Friday. Sorry if this doesn't make sense, just decided. Right, it does make sense. Does make sense. Don't know how many weeks pregnant you are, but that doesn't really make any odds. What I would say, Shona, is that when you have a baby bisection because it's breech, or well, especially when it's breech, when you're pregnant again, if your baby is in a good position, then you've got to sort of think, if your first baby, if this was your first baby and baby was in the right position and everything was grand and you were fine, you would be heading on down, probably going through a vaginal delivery route. And from a physical point of view, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't go for a VBAC with this baby. If the baby's head down, that's what you would do. So even if you were, like you said, even if you were measuring big the first time round, you wouldn't be thinking, oh, right, well, I've got to go for a section, unless your doctors were saying, we think you should go for a section like the lady earlier on. So I think what I would always say is, unless there was a clinical reason why you ended up with a cesarean section, and you were advised to do so, try and take this as if it's your first pregnancy and think about how you would have done it then. That's what I would do. And you are quite right. If you've got a toddler at the minute, having a vaginal delivery is going to be easier to manage a toddler and a baby afterwards. So you're 29 weeks and 4 days. So yeah, and I think, again, just if you sort of make the decision now, right, okay, I'm going to go for a vaginal delivery at 29 weeks, then that's good. If suddenly over the next few weeks this baby grows and it's a really big baby and you're thinking, actually, then you can absolutely change your mind. And if you want a cesarean section, then you can have a cesarean section. Congratulations, by the way. I've just found out that I am 31 weeks pregnant. Oh my God, it's a massive surprise. And we were told 7 years ago that we couldn't have babies. I have had a scan and the baby is growing perfectly. Oh, how lovely. And the heartbeat was normal, but I am extremely worried. I've been living a normal life for the last 31 weeks. I haven't taken it easy. I haven't lifted boxes or done anything normally without knowing I was pregnant. I haven't taken vitamins. My biggest worry is that I've been drinking alcohol. And I'm not a massive drinker. Bless you. See, lockdown, my lovely. My biggest worry is that I haven't been drinking alcohol. I'm not a massive drinker. It's mainly on the weekend. I probably have 1 bottle of wine a week and maybe a beer. Obviously, if I had known I was pregnant, I wouldn't have drunk anything. And I'm very worried that I've hurt my baby. It's all I think about. Right, stop worrying. Stop worrying. Okay, so when I found out I was pregnant with Jack, my first, we actually got pregnant on holiday. So the first 2 weeks of his life after conception, he was pickled. I mean, completely pickled. And he's absolutely fine. A bit bonkers, but he's fine. And with my daughter, I was actually in Argentina for 4 weeks pregnant before I knew. Smoking, drinking, not good. As soon as I found out, I stopped. With regards to the vitamins, the folic acid that we recommend for early in pregnancy is to prevent babies having spina bifida. Now, at 31 weeks, I'm assuming you've had a scan and they've looked at the spine and they've said everything's growing perfectly. And babies that are impacted with a fetal alcohol syndrome, it is often apparent because of the way that they grow inside. So I think you're probably all right. I think the biggest thing you've got to manage is the fact that you're 31 weeks. God, could you imagine, ladies, all these ladies that have trudged through the last 25 weeks and they're just like, cheat. You've missed it all, which comes with its own downsides. The other thing I would say is hop onto, there's one on Saturday, one of the free antenatal class on Saturday morning. That's going to get you and your partner ready for labour, birth, what to pack in your bag, that sort of stuff. But congratulations, how lovely. You were told you couldn't have children and now look, you've been playing snakes and ladders and you threw a 2. You're at 99. None of the shit in between. I'm impressed. Well done. Do keep in touch and let us know how you get on. I'm 29 weeks and I bet you've suffered, Jessica, haven't you, for all those weeks? Not like our Fanny Ann a minute ago. Poor Jessica, she's 29 weeks and suffering with severe pelvic girdle pain. What can ease it apart from the crutches and the support is its agony. And I've 3 kids to look after and can't reply to my daughter who is 10 to keep helping. I can't rely on my daughter. So it's a shame, Jessica, because we had a pelvic girdle workshop on Sunday, which was really well attended and got great feedback. We have got another one at the end of the month. What I would do, though, is go to @MichellePhysio on Instagram. If you can't find it on Instagram, just message me @TheHonestMidwife and I'll point you in the right direction and ask her a question. She may well be able to help. But she is doing another one at the end because she can give exercises and stuff that will really help. So definitely ask her. Keeping your hips stable and that sort of thing, not opening your legs too wide. So when you go up the stairs, if it's really severe, go up on your bottom. That might help. But definitely touch base with Michelle. She's a better person than me. Paula is 4 weeks pregnant after MMC in March and having TRFMR in August due to my baby having patals and labour. Oh gosh. That was a lot of. So your baby's having. Right, okay. Sorry, I was just reading this question. Okay. Okay, bless your little heart. Okay, Paula, bless you. I'm so sorry. You've had a really crappy time. I think so. For those of you that don't understand what's gone on there, unfortunately, poor Paula lost her first pregnancy because halfway through her pregnancy, she found out her baby had got a congenital abnormality. So a bit like when you have your screening for Down syndrome, one of the other things that they look for is patals. And so Paula is now pregnant again. Congratulations, my lovely. And obviously, understandably, is feeling bloody anxious. I think, Paula, you should maybe touch base with me. And again, I'm offering out my phone calls. Don't offer them out very often. And let's have a chat and see how we can maybe help you with that anxiety. I think saying to you, don't worry, is like saying don't think about bananas. It's pointless. I think anxiety, I had this conversation with someone earlier today. Anxiety is actually a physical sideline of something that we're thinking about. So I think there is some practical things that you can do in terms of your thought processes, in terms of not necessarily going too far ahead. But if you do want to phone me, give me a call, because it's not easy, and I think you're probably not going to feel that anxiety ebb away until you have your confirmation that the same thing's not happening. But the risk is really small. So hopefully this time, Paula, you're going to be all right. My heart goes out to you. It's a horrible thing to have to happen. But we've got you at 4 weeks, so hopefully we've got you for the next 36 weeks, and we're going to see this lovely baby at the end. I have a question regarding birth. I had my first child last year and had a really bad hemorrhage as bits of the placenta were still inside. I'm now pregnant with my second and worried that it will happen again. Does it happen often? Many thanks, Fran. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We will keep a really close eye on you. But I suppose it's a bit like thinking, and I know this is a bit of an odd analogy. Those of you that know me, I'm full of odd analogies. If you get 2 digestive biscuits and dunk one in your cup of tea and you come up and it's fallen in half, right? You can't guarantee. Now, digestives are good dunkers, aren't they? They are good. So after one dunk, that should not happen. So you normally get a couple of dunks. I'm literally made this up right now as I go along. I would like to say that the chances are you do another dunk on the other biscuit and it comes out and it's absolutely fine. That are the chances, especially if we're doing obnobs, right? But I can't absolutely guarantee that it won't happen again. But what we will do is, because you had that high hemorrhage last time, we will stand ready. So we'll have all those drugs that were there last time, and we'll probably have a cannula in your hand ready, so it won't be so speedy, if that helps. Is that a good analogy with the hobnobs? I quite like the hobnob analogy. I think somebody's putting something in my tea. I think I'm going a bit loopy. Do you know, I don't like Facebook so much because you don't get hearts. On Instagram, when people think I've said something funny, they give me a heart. You don't get it on here. Anyway, but try not to worry because we are on it. We will make sure you're all right. Is being in silent labour a bad thing? Is being silent labour a bad thing? It's not a bad thing, Amy, but it's a bit disconcerting for the midwife, because we take a lot about women's demeanour, how they're acting, how they're speaking. And I did once look after a lady, and she was a pure silent labourer, and she just sat there, and then every so often she'd go, and then suddenly I just heard her go, and I was like, what's that? And then 2 minutes later she had a baby, and it was hard because you didn't have that judgment, but it's not a bad thing. not a bad thing. It's just how you labour, really. Yeah, not a bad thing. It's like, what's she doing? What is she doing? And she'd sort of come in and said, I'm in labour, and we examined her, and she absolutely was in labour. So it was like, okay. And that's why when people say, is it absolutely necessary to examine somebody? It's like, it's the only way that we can tell, because actually when she walked in and said, I'm in labour, I'm having a contraction right now, we were like, we're sending her home in a minute. Whereas, so if I'd have sent her home without examining her, she'd have had a baby in the car park. That's what she did. Oh, I'm making myself laugh today. I had a previous emergency C-section and now have a BMI of 39. My consultant has said I have to be induced, barring obvious medical issues. Do I have to be induced, or can I attempt to start labour naturally? I think you need to kick back and ask why you're being induced. Is it because of the size of the baby? I wouldn't have thought your BMI should necessarily dictate unless they are concerned about the size of the baby. So I think you can attempt naturally. I think again, it's understanding the rationale, but I think if he said you have to be, there's no such thing as you have to be. But I think you need to go back and say, well, why are you recommending that? Why are you suggesting that? To understand the pros and cons. Now, if he's saying, well, you've got a very large baby on board, you had a section last time, there's this, and this, these are the reasons, you've got to question why you would want to go against that, really. So I think it's having a better conversation with your consultant. Also, trying to lay on my side is horrific and absolutely kills me and takes me out. I think, honestly, bless your heart, it's so horrible with the pelvic girdle pain. I would definitely go back to Michelle Physio on Instagram. I'm 30 weeks pregnant with my third. Congratulations. At 28 weeks, I measured 32 weeks. Both my other children weighed nearly 9 pounds. It looks like this one will be 11. How accurate are the growth charts, and should I be going for a growth scan, as my midwife doesn't seem concerned? Does she not? Well, there's a couple of things. The measurements that midwives take are very subjective. Sorry, resident mouse. They're very subjective. So I could measure you at 30 centimetres, someone else could measure you at 32. So there's always that bit of gap where it could be slightly different. I think given that you've had 2 large babies and this one's measuring bigger, I would probably ask for a scan. But what she may well be thinking is actually at 28 weeks, let's just see what happens, because baby is growing well. So when you have your appointment at 34, I would suggest she will probably send you for a scan then, because 28 weeks, they're not going to start planning or doing anything, even if it is growing at a rapid rate. But at 34 weeks, they might start saying, right, we need to start thinking about when we're going to induce if it's too big. So I think that's probably her rationale, to be fair. I'm a first-time mum. I'm 26 weeks one day, and I've recently been suffering with headache over the last couple of days. I had my midwife appointment, my blood pressure was fine. Is there anything I could take other than paracetamol, or anything you could recommend to use? Not really. It's just paracetamol, really, unless it's debilitating, but then you would need to go back to your GP. Make sure you're really hydrated. Try and rest. But yeah, there's not much else that you can do. I'm just going back here. Where am I at? Okay, yeah, so yeah, you've had a pretty tough time, haven't you, Paula? So yeah, I can understand why you're anxious. I'm 31 weeks pregnant. My biggest fear is having to be induced labour. Are there any suggestions for getting labour naturally in the last few weeks? What I would suggest is try not to fear being induced. I would do the complex labour and birth class, which is number 2. So there's the free class, which is number 1, which is followed by number 2. And that goes into induction of labour, because a lot of people have got lots of myths and misunderstandings and don't really know what the process is. So I think if you can get to understand the process, you'll feel better about it. And really, we shouldn't be trying to go into labour any early anyway. So nowhere before 37 weeks. The only one that's sort of got any evidence is eating dates from 34 weeks, sex possibly. That's about it, really. But yeah, I would do class 2 so that you're not so worried about it. 28 weeks pregnant, I've started having heart palpitations over the last day. Is this normal? No, not particularly, Laura. I'd touch base with your midwife and just ask if you can get checked out. Might be a bit of anxiety, you don't know, but you should get checked out. I don't think it's likely to be anything sinister, but I'd rather you were checked. Are you here, Claire Watkins? Claire Watkins, are you here? Somebody wants to know if you're here, Claire. Oh, Claire Watkins. Yes, she is. I had my 36-week appointment with midwife this week, and she has said baby's head down but back to back. Although she pointed to my left side of my bum, said that that lump is her bum, I came home and wondered how she could be back to back then. What are your thoughts? Also, is it easy enough to manage pain at home until 4 centimetres before going to hospital, and any tips due 1st of March? So, Claire, I would go on Saturday morning. I've got a free labour and birth class where we talk all about staying at home, how to manage that pain, how your partner can help, that sort of thing. Yeah, it does sound a bit funny to say, oh, that's a bum, because effectively she wouldn't really be able to feel a bum if it was back to back. It'd be interesting to know whether you've got a dip in your belly button. So if your bump is perfectly round, that's often a lesser sign, whereas if you've got a bit of a dip in your belly button, that can mean back to back. But I would do the labour and birth class on Saturday or Monday. You've got time. Couple of missed questions above. Oh, we have this every week, don't we? So look, Helen. Why this happens? Might be because I've not got my glasses on. I can't see Helen's question. So if she wants to type it again, or somebody else type it for her. And Maria, can't see her question either. If people can either type them again, or somebody else, if you can see them, copy and paste them, because I am not seeing them. Laura, can you copy and paste their questions, because they're not on my scroll, which is bizarre. Ain't that bizarre? I can't see them either. Thank you, Jessica. Jessica got me out of the shit there. Right, lovely. Here we go. Helen's question. I'm 20 weeks plus 2, and I've had 20 weeks scan tomorrow, but I'm not sure if I have felt any baby movements yet. I sometimes think I feel a kick, but no flutters. Is this normal? Yes. When should I start feeling kicks? I'm worried it's an issue, and I know it's not necessarily an issue at all. Even people at 22, 23 weeks, there's sometimes only feeling flutters, so I wouldn't worry at all. Haven't had any pregnancy symptoms, or neither did our Mrs. 31 weeks, God bless her. But yeah, I wouldn't worry, and you've got your scan tomorrow, and hopefully that's going to offer you some really good reassurance. My baby is fully on breastfeed, and I want to give him a bottle as well, but it's hard, it's not working. I express milk and try and give him a bottle, but he's not having it from the day one. He doesn't like dummy as well. And is there any advice on how to put him on the bottle as well? So not an easy one, Maria, and in some ways it depends on how old he is. If you're talking about a baby that's like 6 months old, it's a really difficult battle, and one that's not easily won. A lot of it is about perseverance, but you may just find that they just never do take a bottle. If your baby is like 5 weeks old, then definitely persevere, and just keep trying. But sometimes there does come a point where it's like, this is causing you more anxiety than it's actually benefiting you. Claire has wondered how she will know she's 4 centimetres at home, as cannot go to hospital with her partner before this. Is there any way she may know when she reaches that stage? There really isn't, because there's only a midwife or a doctor or someone who knows how to feel a cervix that will know whether you're 4 centimetres. I think the trick is just staying as relaxed as possible and staying at home until you feel that you need to go in and need more support. And again, I do go into it in much more depth in the free class on Saturdays or Mondays. Right, well, you have kept me super duper busy for exactly half an hour. So before my next question's fired at me, I am going to go. I'm hoping that you all, oh, hold on a second. Charlotte has been told at 35 weeks she's got placenta calcification and has been noted on my last scan. What does this mean, and what is it likely to happen? Charlotte, can I ask you, do you smoke? Because that's sometimes a sign, or it can sometimes be a sign. Sometimes it just... What they're going to do is they're probably going to keep an eye on you just to make sure that the placental function is all okay. And sometimes it's just about making sure. It can be that and I'm not suggesting that you do necessarily smoke, but sometimes smokers placentas, you can really tell because they're just a bit gritty. It could be that your placenta is just getting towards the end of pregnancy and it's just a bit tired. So just a bit like your car, it's still going, it's going absolutely fine, it's still going to get you from A to B, but you're not going to drive around the world in it. So it's just about doing that. They're going to just keep an eye on you. Right, Shannon, again, if anybody can see, Shannon, can you just type it again, my lovely, because I can't see it. So no, good, you're not a smoker, well done you. So it's literally probably just part of the placenta as it's working hard to do its job, and I'd imagine they'll just keep an eye on you. And again, be really mindful of your baby's movements. Shannon's question, I'm 19 weeks, this is my last question I'm going to answer today. I'm 19 weeks and have been getting terrible headaches that sometimes put me out of action since about 5 weeks. These headaches sometimes last days, if not weeks, been doctors, they've just put it down to sometimes hormonal. Oh, that's not very nice. Again, paracetamol, but again, I would push back to your doctor. Make sure you're hydrated, but that's not normal to have them for such a long period of time, and that it needs to be investigated. So, right, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm hoping that you all follow me on Instagram at The Honest Midwife, because that's where I'm most around. I was ever so misbehaved yesterday on the Instagram, so if you like to watch that, just keep an eye out. Also follow Your Baby Club because I'm always there as well. That's it, that's your lot today. I shall see you soon, back on Tuesday, and anybody who wants to do first aid, child and infant first aid, still have some spaces on tonight's class, and you can sign up at Let's Talk Birth and Baby. I'm going to go and tidy my kitchen because it's pigsty. Right, love you all as always, your ace, and I'll see you soon. Do you know, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't get out of bed, I don't think. That's the thing, you do give me structure. I shall see you soon.